Hi everyone, welcome to this Python programming video by Simplilearn. In this video, you will learn about Python loops. So loops are a fundamental concept in any programming language. We will cover in detail about the different types of loops in Python programming. So let's look at the agenda for today. We will start by understanding for loops in Python and look at its syntax with examples. Then we will see how the while loop works with a number of examples. Next, we will learn about nested loops, its syntax, and when to use nested loops in Python. Finally, you will look at some of the important loop coding techniques using Python. So let's begin. We are going to learn about for loops in Python. So what is a for loop in Python? A for loop in Python is used to iterate over the items or elements present in a sequence. The items present in a sequence can be in the form of a list, tuple, dictionary, or even a string. A for loop in Python uses the range function to iterate over a specific number of times. Now let's have a look at the syntax of a for loop. So here on the left you can see the syntax of the for loop. So we have the for keyword followed by the iterator variable. Then we have the in keyword followed by the sequence. It can be a list, you can use the range function, it can be a dictionary, a tuple, anything. And after that you have your colon followed by the statements that you want to execute in the for loop. And below you have the rest of the code. And here on the right you can see this is the flow chart of a for loop. So you have for each item in sequence, then we check the condition. If you have reached the last item, if that is true, you exit out of the loop. But if it is false, you keep on running or executing the statements that are present inside the for loop. This will continue until and unless you have reached the last item in your sequence. Okay. Now let's head over to our Jupyter notebook where we'll see for loop in detail and we'll explore a lot of code examples. Okay, so here I am on my Jupyter notebook. Let's start by writing a simple for loop. Suppose I have a variable, say s, and it has a value which is a string, let's say Simplilearn. Okay, now the way to write a for loop is I'll say for I, which is my iterator variable. It can be any valid variable name in Python, in my variable that is s. So here s becomes my sequence. I'll say print I. So what this for loop is going to do is it will iterate over all the characters that are present in my string and print them one by one. Let me run it by hitting Shift Enter. You see here, using this for loop, we have iterated over all the letters that were present in my string that is Simplilearn, and we have printed them one by one. Okay. Now the print function in Python provides a parameter called end. So by default, the value of the parameter is \n, that is the new line character. Now you can end a print statement with any character or string using this parameter, which is end. Let me show you what I meant. So I'll again have my same string Simplilearn. I'll say for I in my variable or my sequence s. I'll say print I, comma, then I'll use my end parameter equal to, and my end parameter will have a value of asterisk. Now let me run this. You can see here this is sort of a pattern that we have printed. So between each letter in my string Simplilearn we have an asterisk. Okay. Moving ahead, let's see how to use for loop in a list. Alright, I'll declare a list called programming, and this list will contain a few programming languages. Let's say we have Java, and then the next item we have in the list is Python. Next we have Ruby, and then we'll have HTML. Okay, so I'm going to print all the individual items that are present in my list using the for loop. So I'll use the same syntax. I'll write for. This time I'll use my iterator variable name as iter, which means iterator. For iterator or iter in my sequence, which is programming, I'll say print iter. Let's run it. You see here we have printed all the items in my list one by one: Java, Python, Ruby and HTML. Alright, now let's see an example how you can find the average of a list of numbers using for loop. So I'll give a comment saying find the average of a list of numbers. Okay, so here first of all we'll declare a list of numbers with variable list underscore num equal to, it will have a few numbers, let's say 20, 25, 10, 50 and 40. Let's make it 45. Now to find the average of a list of numbers, first I'll declare a variable called sum that will have a value of 0. So we have initialized the sum variable to 0. Then I'll start my for loop for I in my sequence, that is list underscore num, which is this variable. I'll give a colon. I'll write sum equal to sum plus I. So here just give a space to make it more readable. So I'm adding all the numbers in my list and we are storing the result in the variable sum. Then we'll say print sum equal to, I'll pass in my variable that is sum. Then I'll say print average equal to, now our average will be my variable sum divided by the length of my list that has all the numbers. Let's run this. You see here, so our total sum of all the numbers present inside the list is 150 and the average of all these numbers is 30. So 150 divided by 5 is 30. Alright. Now let's see how you can use a for loop using a tuple. So let's declare a variable called num. This is going to be a tuple of numbers and we have 30, 45, 60, 50 and let's say 70 as the numbers inside the tuple. I'll say sum equal to 0. Then we'll have our for loop for I in my sequence, that is num. I'll say sum equal to sum plus I. So here we are just adding the values that are present inside the tuple. I'll say print sum. So here you can see we have printed all the values present inside the tuple one below the other. Now if I shift my print statement to here, you can see here this is my sum of all the numbers that are present inside the tuple. So make sure you have the current indentation. Now let's see how you can use the range function in Python. Okay, so you can use the range function to iterate over a range of values or numbers using a for loop. The way to do is I'll say for I in my function range, I'll give my first index at 1 and my second index at, or my end index at 10. So this will go from 1 till 9 and exclude the 10th index. I'll say print I. You see here For I equal to range 1 to 10, we have printed all the numbers starting from 1 till 9. So the last index, that is 10, is exclusive in the range function. Now in the range function you can also give a third parameter that stands for step, so that you can skip a few steps and print the next value. Let me show you what I mean. Say I write for I in range 0, which is my starting index, 10, which is my end index, and I'll have a step size of 2. Give a colon. I'll say print display values with a step size of 2. Give a comma here and my variable, that is I. Let's print it. There you go. So we have printed the values with a gap of 2. So it starts from 0, then we are jumping 2 steps, and then we are printing 2, then again 2 steps, we have 4, 6 and 8. So we are skipping one value and printing the next value in my sequence ranging from 0 to 10. Alright, now let's write a program to print a table of a given number. So I'll give a comment as program to print table of a given number. Alright, so I'll pass my variable n, which is going to be a user input. So I'm using the int function, and inside the int function I'll use the input function to take the user input. I'll give my message as enter the number. I'll say for I in range from 1 till 11, I'll say multiply, which is mul here, n asterisk I. So basically what I'm doing here is I'll take a user input of the number. Let's say we want to print the table of 5. So from 1 till 10 will have the product of the numbers. Let me print it. I'll say print n comma, within double quotes I'll give my asterisk, comma I, comma, within double quotes I'll say equal to, and then we'll have our variable mul. Let's run this, enter the number. I'll give 5 and hit enter. There you go. So here we have the multiplication table of my number 5. So you say 5 into 1, which is 5, 5 into 2 is 10, then we have 5 into 7 35, 5 into 9 is 45, then our last index which ends at 10, so we have 5 into 10, that is 50. Alright, so this is how you can create a simple multiplication table using for loop in Python. Now we can also use the range function with a sequence of items. The len function can be combined with the range function to iterate through a sequence using indexing. I'll show you an example here. Let's say we have a list called list2, and here we have a list of programming languages, let's say C++. You can either use a single quote or a double quote to represent the text values in a list. The next programming language I have is Java. Then let's say I have Python, and we have R. Okay, so I can write for I in range. Here I can use the length function, and I'll say list2, give a colon, then we'll print hello, and I'll say list2 of I. So what it does is my iterator will iterate over the list of programming languages I have here, and it will keep on iterating till the length of the list, and then I'm printing my message as hello, and it will take each item from the list using the index number. If I run it, you can see here it says hello C++, hello Java, hello Python, and hello R. Cool. Now let's see how you can use nested for loops in Python. I'll say nested for loop as my comment. Let's say I have a list of company names. My first company I have in my list is Google. Let's say Apple, PwC, and then we have Uber. So here I'll write for I in companies, I'll say print, we will display each letter of, I'll say plus I. Now I'll use my second for loop saying for letter in I will print the letter. Let's run it and see our result. There you go. So here we have used two for loops, so that becomes a nested for loop. We have my outer for loop and then we have our inner for loop. So in the outer for loop we are just printing the name of the company. So here we say we will display each letter of plus I, which stands for my company name Google. So you can see below we have displayed each letter of Google using the inner for loop. Similarly, we have for Apple, you can see APPLE, we have PwC, and then we have Uber. So this is how you can use multiple for loops in Python. Now let's see how you can use a for loop with else clause. So I'll give a comment for loop with else clause. So I'll write for I in range 0, 10, I'll give a step size of 3. I'll say print I, and after this Python gives you the flexibility to use an else clause after the for loop. So I'll write else print the loop has completed execution. So this is my message that we are going to print after we have printed all the elements that are present inside this range function. Let's run it. You can see here we have printed the value starting from 0 with a step size of 3. So we have 0, 3, 6 until 9, and then after that we have our else block printed, which has the message the loop has completed execution. Cool. Now let me show you two more important features that you can use while writing a for loop. One is called the break statement, the other one is called the continue statement. So in Python you can break the for loop and end it before it has actually run all the elements in the iterable using the break statement. So let me show you a simple example. If I write for, just give a space here, I in range, let's say from 1 to 10, I'll use an if condition saying if I equal to 6, then break and come out of the loop. Next we'll print I. So here what we are doing essentially is we are iterating over all the values from 1 to 10, and whenever the I value becomes 6, we come out of the loop and print all the values we have iterated so far. Let me run it and we'll see the result. There you go. So here our I value started from 1. We printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our I value reached 6. Then we used the break statement to come out of the loop. Alright. Now you can also skip the execution of further statements in the for loop during that iteration using the continue statement in Python. So when a continue statement is executed, the for loop continues with the execution of the next element in the iterable. It does not complete all the statements in the for loop body. So again I'll give a comment, say continue. Okay, so I'll write for I in range, again from 1 to 10, give a colon. I'll say if my I value is equal to 6, then I'll say continue. Then we'll print I. Let me run it and we'll see the result. Okay, so if you notice this output, so we have printed values from 1 to 5, and when my I value became 6, we skipped printing 6 and we moved on to the next element in the iterable, which was 7. Then we printed 8 and 9. So this is how you can use the break and continue statements in Python. Alright. Now we'll see a program to display the total goals a player has scored. So here we are going to iterate over a dictionary. So I'll give a comment, program to display the total goals a player has scored. Alright. So first of all, I'll declare a variable saying player name, and let's say we have the player name as Carmelo. Alright. I'll declare a dictionary called goals, and within curly braces I'll have my first player name Addition. Let's say Addition has scored 14 goals. Then we have, let's say, Burnett. So Burnett is my key here, and then we'll have value in terms of goals, let's say 3, and then we have our third player, let's say Carmelo, and Carmelo has scored, let's say, 7 goals. Now I'm going to write my for loop. So I'll write for my iterable name here is player, in my sequence name is goals, so I'll say goals. I'm going to check if my player is equal to player name. I'll say print the goals scored by the player. So I'll pass my dictionary name, and within square brackets I'll say player. Let's use the break statement, and then I'll say else will print, my message would be no player with that name found. Let's run and see the result. Alright, so here what we did was, initially I declared a variable called player name that had the value Carmelo, and since Carmelo was present inside my dictionary named goals, you can see here we have Carmelo who had scored 7 goals. So I iterated over my sequence goals and I checked if my iterator, that is player, is equal to the player name, which is Carmelo. Since this Carmelo is present inside my dictionary name, so we printed the goals that were scored by Carmelo, that is 7. Now let's say I change this player name to, we have, let's say, Messi. Now since Messi is not present inside my dictionary goals, if I run this, it will print no player with that name found. The reason being, Messi is not present inside my dictionary called goals. Cool. Now we'll see two more examples. This time we are going to print the cube of numbers using for loop. Alright, so first of all I'll declare a list which will have a list of numbers, let's say 2, 5, 7, 4, 8 and let's say 6. Then I'll pass in a empty list, so I'll declare within empty square brackets. I'll say for I in my sequence name, that is num, I'm going to use my empty list cube and then followed by the append function, and inside the append function we'll have our cubes of the number. So I'll write I'll use the double asterisk operator and then I'll say 3. After that we are going to print my list name, that is cube. Let's run it. There you go. So you can see here, first we have the list of the numbers here, and then we have printed the cubes of these numbers in a pattern. Let's say I bring this print statement here and I'll run it again. Now this is much more readable. You have 2 cube is 8, 5 cube is 125, 7 cube is 343, then 4 cube is 64, 8 cube is 512, 6 cube is 216. Alright, now coming to the last example in our demo section of this for loops in Python video, we'll write a program to print a pattern. I'll say pattern printing. Alright, so we are going to print a right angle triangle. For that I'm going to take my first variable called n, which is going to be a user input to enter the number of rows. So using the input function I am passing the message enter the number of rows. I'll say for I in range 0 till my user input n, give a colon. I'll use my inner for loop. This is going to be the number of columns, so I'll say for j in range 0 comma I plus 1, give a colon, and I'll print my star pattern, so I'm using asterisks, and I'll use my end parameter. I'll have my double quotations and then we'll say print the pattern. So here what I'm doing is I'm taking the number of rows from the user and I'm iterating from 0 till n, which is my user input, and then we are assigning another for loop for the number of rows, so that ranges from 0 till I plus 1. Then I'm printing my star. Let's run it and see the output. Let's say I'll enter the number of rows as 6. If I hit enter, you can see here we have our right angle triangle printed here. So initially my I value is 0, so here my j value becomes from 0 till 1, so we have just one star printed. In the next iteration my I value becomes 1, so from 0 to 1 plus 1, that is 2, we have 2 stars printed. The next iteration my I value becomes 2, so 2 plus 1 is 3 again, so we have 3 columns here, so 3 stars printed, so on and so forth. While loop in Python. This is going to be an interactive session where I'll ask you some interesting questions related to Python. Please answer them in the comment section and let us know your thoughts. So what is a while loop in Python? A while loop specifies a condition or a block of code that is to be executed until the condition evaluates to false, or the loop is explicitly ended with a break statement. Moving on to the next slide. So here you can see the syntax of a while loop. So a while loop is defined using the while keyword, and then you have the expression followed by a colon. After that, you have the statements inside the block. The statements are executed until the condition evaluates to false. Now on the right side, you can see the flow chart to show all the steps to execute a while loop. So you can see here we have the test expression. If the test expression evaluates to true, then we execute the statements that are present inside the while block. But if the condition is false, we will exit out of the while loop. Now before I move on, I have a question for you. So here is a Python quiz question. I want you to tell me the output of the below code. So this is regarding a list. I have declared a list called alpha that has D, F and C as its elements. Then I'm saying alpha plus equal to Ka, which is again a string since it is within the single quotes. Then I'm printing the list. Now you need to tell me what is the right answer. You have four options here, A, B, C and D. The first option is D, F, C, Ka combined. Then we have Ka in the beginning of the list followed by DFC. The third option or the C option is DFC Ka, Ka being individual elements, and the last option, the D option, is Ka DFC. Please go ahead and solve this question and put your answers in the comment section of the video. We'll be more than happy to know from you. Alright, now let's go ahead and start with our demo. So here I am on my Jupyter notebook. Let me rename my file. I'll say while loop in Python demo. Okay, so let me start by writing a simple while loop. I'll declare a variable called I equal to 0. Then I'll start with my while loop. I'll write my while keyword, and this will run till my I is less than 10, let's say. I'll give a colon, and if I hit enter, it will come to the next line. You can see the indentation here which is being maintained. I'll say I equal to I plus 1. So I am incrementing my I value. Then I'll say print I, and I'll use my end parameter, and I'll say end within single quotes. I'll say hash and give a space. Then let me say print again. So here my while loop will run until my I value is less than 10. So we are continuously incrementing the I value and printing the I value. Let me run it. There you go. You can see the result here. We have printed the I values starting from 1 till 10, and after that we have come out of the loop. And you can see the hash symbol being used here because we used our end parameter as hash. So by default it is a new line character, but we have explicitly defined our end parameter as hash followed by a space. Cool. Now let's move on to our next example in this video on while loop. I'll define a variable called count, and I'll assign a value 0. I'll say while my count is less than equal to 5. I'll give a colon, come to the next line, and I'll print the condition is true, and then I'll say count equal to count plus 1, and then I'll say print end of loop. Let's run and see our result. You can see here we have printed our message. The condition is true 5 times because our expression is being evaluated 5 times here. In the 6th time, our count is no more less than equal to 5, so we end the loop. And here you can see the message end of loop. Cool. Now moving ahead, you can also use the break statement in a while loop. Let me show you how to do it. I'll say while true. So I am declaring my while loop to be true, and I'll say please type your name, and I'm going to take my name as input from the user. So I am specifying the input function. I'm going to check if my name is equal to let's say Gilly. Then I should give a colon here. I'll break out of the loop and then will print thank you, you typed the correct name. Alright, so what I am doing here is I'm going to run this loop till the user enters the correct name. So I have declared my name as Gilly. If you enter any other name apart from Gilly, this while loop will continue to run and execute. Let's run it. Okay, so here it says please enter your name. Let's say John. If I run it, it is again asking me please enter your name. Let's say this time I'll say Amy. You can see here it is again asking for the name, so I'll enter my name. Let's say Hopkins. Again, our entered username doesn't match the name that we have provided in the code. Let's say this time I'll say Gilly. If I hit enter, you can see we have our message, thank you, you typed the correct name. Okay. Now moving on to the next example, we will see how to find the least common multiple of 4 and 7. So I'll give a comment as LCM of 4 and 7. Now you would know it is 28, but we are going to find out with the help of a Python while loop. So first I'll declare a variable x equal to 0. I'll say while my expression is true, I'm going to increment my x value to 1. I'll say x plus equal to 1. This means x equal to x plus 1. I'm going to use an if statement and say if not, and here we'll pass the condition x percentage 4 or modulo 4 or x percentage 7, then I'll say break. Finally, we'll print our message saying x comma, and I'll say is divisible by 4 and 7. Say both 4 and 7. Okay, so what I am doing here is I am taking my expression while true, I'm incrementing the value of x each time and checking if this is true or not. Now at the first instance, when my number x is divisible by both 4 and 7, I am coming out of the loop and we are going to print this. Now let's see what's the answer. There you go. You can see here 28 is divisible by both 4 and 7, and hence the LCM of 4 and 7 is 28. So this is the least number which is divisible by 4 and 7. Alright. Now you can also use the continue statement. How you use the break statement to come out of the loop, you can also use the continue statement to continue running the loop. So I'll say I equal to 0 while I is less than 10. So this is my expression. My loop is going to run until I is less than 10. I'm going to increment the value of I. I'll say I plus equal to 1 if, let's say I set my condition, if I equal to let's say 6, then I'll say continue my execution and skip the current step where I value becomes 6. Then I'll say print I. Let's run it and see the result. Okay, you can see here we have printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here you can see we have skipped the execution where I value became 6 and continued with the next iteration 7, 8, 9 and 10. So this is how you can use the continue statement and the break statement in a while loop. Alright. Now moving ahead, you can also use the else statement in a while loop. Now let me show you how to do it. I'll say I equal to 1, then I'll write while I is less than, let's say 5. I'll say print I, then I'm going to increment the value to I plus equal to 1. Now here you can use the else statement and say print I is not less than 5. Let's run it. You can see here we ran our loop until I value was less than 5. So we printed 1, 2, 3 and 4. When I value became 5, we printed I value is not less than 5. Cool. Now moving ahead, so you can use inbuilt functions inside a while loop. Let me show you how to use the pop function and remove the elements in a list using a while loop. So I'll declare a list of numbers, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 and we have 5. So these are the 5 elements that are present inside list A. I'll say while A, so I'm iterating over all the elements in my list. I'm going to say print A dot, I'll use the pop function. So what pop does is it is going to remove the elements from the end of a list. Then I'll say else print there are no elements left in the list. Alright, let's run it and see the result. You can see here we are removing the elements one by one from the end of the list. So first we popped out 5, then 4, 3, 2 and 1, and after that we had no more elements left in the list, so we printed there are no elements left in the list. Okay. Now the next program, we will take numbers as input from the user and calculate the average as long as the user enters a positive number. So I'll give a comment, average of positive numbers. Cool. Okay. So I'll start my program. I'll declare a variable called num which has a value 0. I'll declare a variable called count which also has a value 0. Then I have sum which has a value of 0. I'll write while my number is greater than equal to 0. So this condition is for accepting only positive numbers. I'll say num equal to, I'm going to take the positive numbers from the user. So I'll pass an input function. I'll say enter any positive number. Then I'm going to say if my number is greater than 0, I'll say count equal to count plus 1. Let's make this greater than equal to 0. Then I'll say sum equal to sum plus my number. So here I am keeping track of the numbers that we have entered, and here we are calculating this sum, that is the cumulative sum. Then I'll say ABG, which is to find the average. I'll say sum divided by my variable, that is count. Then I'm going to print total. I'll say total sum of numbers, give a colon followed by a space, give a comma. I'll say sum, then I'll say average, give a colon followed by a space, and I'll pass in the variable ABG. Alright, so here I have my program ready, where we are using a while loop and an if statement to take numbers as input from the user and calculate the average as long as the user enters a positive number. So let me run it. Okay, it says enter a positive number. I'll say, let's say 5. Again it's asking for a positive number. I'll say 7. Let's say 10. And this time I'm going to enter a negative number, so I'll say minus 6. If I run it, you can see here the total sum of numbers 5 plus 7 plus 10 is 22, and the average is 22 divided by 3, which is 7.33. Alright, let me give a space here for more readability. We are going to try it again. I'll say 40, 50, 30, and let's say 100. This time I'll enter a negative number, let's say minus 90. Okay, so you can see here I have entered 4 positive numbers, 40, 50, 30 and 100. So the sum of numbers is 220, and the average is 40 plus 50 plus 30 plus 100, which is 220 divided by 4, which is 55. Cool. Now moving on to the last demo in this while loop with Python tutorial. So here we are going to guess a number. So the user is going to give a number between a certain range, and based on a random input generated from the program, we are going to guess the random number. Alright, so for that I'm going to start by importing my library called random. I'm going to say n equal to random dot randint, which is a function to generate random integers. I want to generate between 1 and 100. Let's go ahead and print that number n. Then I'll use a variable called guess, which is going to be a user input. So I'll say input, which is my function, and I'll give the message enter an integer between 1 to, let's say, 100. Okay. Then I'll start my while loop saying while n not equal to my variable, that is guess. I'll say if my guessed number is less than n, I'll print the message as your guess is, let's say, low. Then again I'll say guess equal to, I'll take the user input, I'll just copy this message and we'll print it here. Okay, now I'll say elif if my guess is more than my random integer, will print, I'll just copy this, we are going to print your guess is, let's say, high. Then we are again going to ask the user to guess a number between 1 to 100, and after that I'll say else will print you guessed it correctly. Then we'll break out of the loop, and finally I'll just print it. Okay, so what we are doing in this game is, before that let me just give a comment as guessing game in Python. So first of all, we are generating a random integer using the library called random. So the integer will lie between 1 and 100. I am going to print that integer. After that I am taking a user input. So I'm asking the user to enter an integer between 1 to 100, and I'm checking if my random integer is not equal to my user input, that is guess, and if that guess is less than my random integer, I am going to print your guess is low. Then I'm again asking the user to input an integer between 1 to 100. Then I'm saying if the guessed value is more than the generated random integer, will print your guess is high. Then after that I'm again asking the user to input an integer, and in case the random integer matches with the guessed number, will print you guessed it correctly. Alright, let's try this out. Okay, so here you can see, so my program generated a random integer 48 that lies between 1 and 100. So our loop will only stop executing when we enter our number as 48. Otherwise it will keep on running and asking you to enter an integer. Let's say I enter 50. You see here your guessed value, that is 50, is more than the random integer 48. So we have the message your guess is high. Let's say I'll say 30. This time my guess is low, you can see it here. Let's say I'll take my number as 300. You see here, this time my guess is high, which is more than 48. But if I say my user input to be 48 and if I hit enter, there you go, we have our message printed, you guessed it correctly. Alright, we are going to learn about nested loops in Python. You will learn what is a nested loop and see the various types of nested loops in Python. Then we will look at an example to print patterns using nested loops and understand when to use nested loops in Python. Finally, we will do some examples on the Jupyter Notebook to get well acquainted with using nested loops in Python. So, what is a nested loop? Python programming language allows you to use one loop inside another loop. This is known as a nested loop. It is present inside the body of the outer loop. The inner or outer loop can be a for loop or a while loop. The outer for loop can contain a while loop, or an outer while loop can contain a for loop inside it. In Python nested loops, the outer loop can have more than one inner loop. There is no limitation on the chaining of loops. Now you can see on your screens the basic syntax of writing a nested loop in Python. You have the outer loop followed by the inner loop and the statements inside the inner loop. And finally, you have the statements of the outer loop. The last 3 lines consist of the body of the outer loop. Now talking about the various ways of writing nested loops in Python. So with Python, you can write a for loop inside another for loop, or you can have a while loop declared inside another while loop. You can see it here. So using Python, you can use both for loops and while loops together. The outer loop can be a for loop and the inner loop can be a while loop. You can also write nested loops having a while loop outside and for loop inside. So now that you have learned about the basics of nested loops, let's look at an example of printing patterns. So in the code here, we have used 2 for loops to get our right angle triangle containing asterisks or stars. So we have declared row equal to 7, which means we need 7 rows to be printed. You can count it here. These are 7 rows. Hence, we have defined it as row equal to 7. Now the outer for loop ensures we have a total of 7 rows. So we have defined a range from 1 to row plus 1, that is 8. Now the inner loop is the total number of columns in each row. So for each iteration of the outer loop, the columns count gets incremented by 1. So for the first iteration of the outer loop, the column count is 1. In the next iteration, it is 2, and so on. The inner loop iteration is equal to the count of the columns, and for each iteration in an inner loop, we print a star. So for the first iteration, when I value is 0, it will first print a blank. When I value becomes 1, then your J range becomes 1, 1 plus 1, which is 2. So it will print 1 star here, followed by a space. When I value becomes 2, your J range becomes 1, 3. So it will print 2 stars. Then again, when I value becomes 3, your range becomes 1, 4. So it will print 3 stars. So on and so forth. Now let's see when you should use a nested loop in Python. So nested loops are mostly used to work with multi-dimensional data structures, such as printing 2-dimensional arrays, iterating a list that contains a nested list, etc. You can use Python nested loops to print different star or number patterns as well. Now let's head to our Jupyter notebook to do some practical hands-on demonstrations to understand nested loops in Python better. Okay, you can see here I am on my Jupyter notebook. First of all, I'll rename my notebook as nested loops in Python demo. Click on rename. Alright, now let's see our first example. So here we are going to print the items in a list one by one, but each letter in an item should be separated by the @ sign, which is basically the @ symbol that you use in your email IDs. Alright, and for the first demo, we'll be using nested for loop. So let's start. I'll create a list which will have the names of the fruits. Let's say we have mango. I'll give a comma. Let's say I have apple, grapes, and let's say we have banana. Alright, now I'll create my outer loop. So I'll say for fruit. Now this variable can be any valid Python variable. This is basically known as an iterator or an iterator variable. So I'll say for fruit in my list, which is list underscore fruits that I have declared in my first line. I'll give a colon and then declare my inner loop. I'll say for I in my variable or the iterator that I had declared in the previous line, which is fruit. I'll say print I, and then I'll use the end parameter that will have the @ sign, and then I'll print a blank. So this is my first nested loop that I have created. So I want to iterate through all the items present in my list underscore fruits variable, and for each item in the list I want to make sure that each letter in an item should be separated with the @ sign. So let me go ahead and print it so that you can see the result. There you go. So here you can see we have printed the different items that were present in my list, which was list underscore fruits, and for each item the letters in the item have been separated by the @ sign, you can see here. Alright, if you want you can change this symbol to, let's say, star. If I print it, you can see the difference in the result. Now we'll see our second example where we are going to print the values of items in two lists together. So let me create a list called color that will have the different colors such as red, we have green, and let's say blue. And the next list I'm going to create will have three items. The first item is apple, then we have veggies, and then we have shirt. Now to print the values of the items in these two lists together, I'm going to use two for loops again. So I'll say for my iterator variable, let's say x, in my first list, which is color. So I have declared my outer loop, and now I'll say for another iterator variable, let's say y, in my second list items, I'm going to print x comma y, and after that we'll print a space. So first of all, my outer for loop will iterate through the items that are present inside color list, and for each color we are going to iterate through the values that are present inside items list. Now let me go ahead and print it. You can see it here. First we are printing red apple, red veggies, and red shirt. Then we have green apple, green veggies, and green shirt. If I scroll down, you can see blue apple, blue veggies, and blue shirt. Okay. Now coming to our third example, here we are going to print a right angle triangle with 10 rows. We have seen a similar example in the slides where there were 7 rows. Now we are going to print a right angle triangle with 10 rows. I'll give a comment. Let's say print right triangle. Okay. So I'll start my for loop. I'll say for any iterator variable, let's say I, in range. I'll pass my range as 11, so it will go from 0 to 10. Then I'll say for j in range I, so this will take the number of columns. I'll say print within double quotes. I'll give my star because I want to print a star pattern for the triangle, and I'll end with a space. Then I'll say print blank, so there won't be any space between the different rows. Now let's print the result. There you go. So here you can see we have a right angle triangle of 10 rows. You can count the number of rows, and also we have the number of columns as 10. So when I value is 1, your J range also becomes 1, so we'll print 1 star. Then when I value is 2, we are going to print 2 stars. When I value is 3, we are going to print 3 stars, and we are using the end parameter as a space. Okay. Now let's go ahead and print a right angle triangle using a nested while loop. So unlike the for loop, the while loop doesn't have a pre-compiled iterable sequence. The while loop keeps executing the code until the expression evaluates to true. So I'll start with the variable I equal to 11 because I want to print 10 rows that will contain my star pattern. Now I'll declare my first while loop. I'll say while I is greater than 0. So my loop will continue until I is greater than 0. I'll say j equal to 11. Then I'll use my inner while loop. I'll say while j is greater than I will print star, and I'll use my end parameter as space again. Then we are going to decrement j by 1. I'll come out of the inner while loop and I'll say I equal to I minus 1. So we are also decrementing the first variable I by 1, and now I'll say print. Okay, so let me run this. You can see it here. We have the same pattern printed. Earlier we saw this using 2 for loops, and now we have created the same pattern using 2 while loops. Alright. Now moving to our next example where we'll see how to append 2 lists. So first of all, I'm going to declare list 1 and list 2, and we are going to append the elements of both the list into an empty list called result. So I'll give a comment append 2 lists. Okay, so first I'll declare my list 1. Now these are list of numbers. Let's say I have 10, 25 and 30 as my elements in the first list, and then I'll declare my second list which will have, let's say, 60, 15 and 50. Okay, now I'll declare an empty list called result, and after that I'm going to start my outer for loop. I'll say for I in my list 1, then I'll say for j in list 2, I'll say result, which is my empty list that I have declared. Then I'm going to use the append function that is inbuilt in Python. I'll say I plus j. So this will make sure we'll append the values from both the list into my empty list, which is result. Then I'll say print result. Okay, let's run it. There you go. So what we are doing here is I'm adding each element in list 1 with all the elements in list 2. If you see here, 10 plus 60 is 70, then we have 10 plus 15 which is 25, 10 plus 50 is 60. Similarly, 25 plus 60 is 85, 25 plus 15 is 40, then 25 plus 50 is 75, and similarly for 30 plus 60, 30 plus 15 and 30 plus 50. Great. Now moving to our next example, we are going to see how you can multiply the values in 2 lists. So I'll give a comment saying multiplying 2 lists. I'll declare my first list, which is list 1 with 2, 4 and let's say 6. Then I'll have my list 2 with the same elements 2, 4 and 6. Start my outer for loop for I in list 1. Then I'll say for j in list 2, I'm going to show you another feature that you can use while implementing nested lists, that is to use continue or break. So I'll say if I equal to j, then I'll continue. After that, we are going to print the value of I followed by the asterisk, then the value of j. I'll give a comma, then within single quotes I'll say equal to, then I'll give the operation I multiplied by j. So this is how you can multiply the elements in two lists. So I've declared my list 1, my list 2, then I'm using two for loops, and whenever my I value is equal to j, we'll skip that step and move on to the next iteration. Let me run it and show you the result. So if you notice here, I haven't multiplied 2 and 2. The reason being, I have used this if condition. Whenever I was equal to j, we continued with the next iteration. Similarly, there is no output for 4 multiplied by 4 or 6 multiplied by 6. But for the remaining, we have our result. 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. 2 multiplied by 6 is 12. Similarly, 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. 4 multiplied by 6 is 24. 6 multiplied by 2 is 12. And 6 multiplied by 4 is 24. So continue and break are two statements that you can use inside nested loops in Python. Okay. Now we are going to write another nested loop using a while loop and a for loop to check whether a number is a perfect number or not. So basically in this program we are going to print the perfect numbers between 1 and 100. Now a perfect number is a positive integer that is equal to the sum of its proper divisors. So the smallest perfect number is 6, which is the sum of 1, 2 and 3. So these are the perfect divisors of, or proper divisors of 6, 1, 2 and 3. If you add them, the value is 6. Another example is 28. The proper divisors of 28 are 1, then you have 2, 4, 7 and 14. If you add them, the value is 28. So here we will iterate the first 100 numbers using a while loop. So for each iteration of the outer while loop, the inner for loop executes from 1 up to the current outer number to check if the current number is a perfect number or not. Okay, so I'll give a comment saying perfect number. Cool. So I'll first declare a variable called a, which will have a value of 1. Then I'll say while my a is less than equal to 100, then I'll declare another variable called y underscore sum, which will have the value of 0. After that, I'll pass in my inner loop, which is the for loop. I'll say for I in range 1 comma a. I'll say if a mod I is equal to 0, then we'll say y underscore sum equal to y underscore sum plus I. Then I'm going to say if my y underscore sum value is equal to my a value, then it's a perfect number. So I'm going to use a print statement saying print perfect number, give a colon, then I'll give a comma and print my variable a. And finally, we are going to increment the value of a to 1. Now let's run it. You can see it here. Between 1 and 100, we have two perfect numbers, as I mentioned earlier, 6 and 28. Okay. Now coming to the final example in our demo on nested loops in Python. Here we are going to print each element in the list 5 times. So I'll first declare my list, let's say fruits, which has apple, then we have orange, and let's say we have kiwi. So I'll say for an iterator fruit in fruits, I'll declare a variable called count and initialize it to 0. Then I'm going to use a while loop saying while count is less than 6, since I want to print the items in the list 5 times. Then I'll say print fruit, and I'll use my end parameter as a space. Then we are going to increment count by 1, and finally I'll print it. Let's run it. You can see it here. I printed each element in my list fruits 5 times. You can see it here. We are going to learn about looping techniques in Python. This is going to be a completely hands-on demo video, and we'll be using the Jupyter Notebook to work on the examples. So let's head over to our Jupyter Notebook and begin. Okay, so I'm on my Jupyter Notebook. First of all, let's rename our notebook to looping techniques. Okay, I'll just increase the size. Alright. Okay, so let's see how you can arrange the values in a list using for loops with Python sorted function. So I'll create a variable called num, and I'll assign a list. Let's say it has values 2, 5, 10, 4. I'm taking just random values. Let's say 36, 50, and 49. So this is my list. Now I want to arrange the items in this list in either ascending or descending order. So for that I can use a for loop. I'll say for I, which is my iterator variable, in, and after this I'm going to use the Python sorted function, and inside the function I'll pass in my variable which is num. Then I'll give a colon and say print I. So let's hit shift enter to run it. Okay, you can see here, so Python by default has sorted the elements in the list in ascending order. So we have 2, 4, 5, then 10, 36, 49, 50, and 50. Now let's learn how you can sort the values in a list using a for loop in descending order. So I'll just copy my above cell of code. We'll paste it here. It will help save us some time. So I'll say for I in sorted, I've given my variable num. After this, I'm going to pass in another parameter called reverse equal to, I'll say true. Now reverse equal to true will make sure Python will sort the list in descending order. If I run it, you can see the difference. We have sorted the elements in the list num in descending order now. So we have 50, 50, 49, 36, 10, 5, 4, and 2. Okay, so this is one of the techniques that you can use to sort the elements in a list using a for loop. Now similarly, you can also sort string elements alphabetically in a list in ascending or descending order. So for that, I'll create a variable called players. Let me just scroll down. Then I'll create a list which will have the names of football players. Let's say we have Messi. Then let's say we have Ronaldo. Then we have Salah. And then we have, let's say, Harry. Okay. I'm going to say for I in my function sorted, I'll say players, I'll give a comma and again use reverse equal to true. So this is going to sort the items in my list players in descending order of the alphabets. Then I'll give a colon and say print I. Let me run it. You can see here the names of the different football players have been sorted in descending order of alphabets. So we have S appearing first, then R, M and H. So Salah, Ronaldo, Messi and Harry. Alright, now let's move ahead. Now we are going to create a dictionary of key value pairs and sort it. So I'll create a dictionary called D, which will have a few key value pairs. So my first key is F and the value is, let's say, 1. Then my second key, let's say, is B and the value is 4. I'll give a comma. My next key is A and the value is, let's say, 3. After that, my next key is E and the value is, let's say, 9. And finally we have our last key, which is C, and the value is 2. Now to sort this dictionary, I'll say for I in sorted, I'm going to use the items method. I'll say sorted d.items and then we'll print I. Let me run it and show you the result. You can see it here. Our dictionary has been sorted in ascending order of the dictionary keys. So we have A, B, then C. There is no D here. After that we have E and then F. Cool. Now you can also sort the keys and values separately. Let me just copy this and I'll show you. I'll paste it here and instead of d.items I'll just say d.keys. If I run it, you can see here we have sorted only the keys in my dictionary. Now to sort the values, instead of items you can just write values, and here you can see we have sorted the values in the dictionary D in ascending order again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 9. Alright. Now we will understand how to use the reverse function in loops to reverse the items in a list. So I'll again create my list called players, which will have Messi. Let's say again the next player is Ronaldo, and then we have Salah, and then we have Harry. Okay. Now to reverse the elements in this list called players, I'll say for I in, then I'll use the reversed function and pass in my list called players, give a colon and then say print I. Let's run it. Here you can see we have reversed the elements in my list called players. So we have Harry first, then Salah, Ronaldo and Messi in the end. Cool. Now moving ahead, we'll see how to use the filter function in a loop and filter specific elements in a list based on some conditions. Now to give the condition, we'll be using an anonymous function in Python that is often called as the lambda function. To do this, I'm going to create a list called animals. I'll give my square brackets, and inside these square brackets I'm going to pass in the elements in the form of a dictionary. So to pass in a dictionary we need to have key value pairs. So my first key is name. Let's say my animal is dogs. I'll give a comma. Then my next key is the age. Let's say dog's age is 11. So this is my first list element which has been passed in the form of a dictionary. I'll create another curly bracket and we'll have the same keys This time let's say my animal is lion. Let's make it dog instead of dogs. Okay, give a comma and then say age. Let's say the age of the lion is 30. I'll give a comma. We'll go to the next line, and this time we are going to have another animal. I'll say elephant. Give a comma. Let's say the age is 63. I'll give a comma. Then we'll have our final element in the list. Let's say the name of the animal is leopard. Give a comma. Then we'll have the age of the leopard. Let's say the age is 18. So we have our list ready. Now using a for loop, we'll filter the elements in the list giving a specific condition. Let me show you. So I'll write for animals in. I'm going to use the filter function, and inside the filter function I'll give an anonymous function called lambda. I'll say lambda I colon I of age. If it is divisible by 2, so I'll say age divided by 2 equal to 0. Give a comma, then we will print that animal. I'll give a colon. I'll say print animals. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the filter function and passing my condition, that is, if the age of the animal is divisible by 2, then print the animal, or just print the list. Rest we don't need. Alright, now let me run it. It says there's an invalid syntax. Let me debug it. Okay, there is a spelling mistake here in lambda. This should be MBDA. Okay, now we'll run it. There you go. So here in the list that we had created, only the age of lion and leopard were divisible by 2. So 30 and 18 were divisible by 2. So Python printed us only those two elements in the list. The rest it ignored. 11 and 63 are not divisible by 2, so we did not get dog and elephant. Cool. So this is another interesting looping technique where you can use filter as well as an anonymous lambda function. Alright. Now in the next example, we'll see how to remove items in a list using a while loop. So far we have been using only for loops. Now we are going to see a few examples using while loop. Okay. I'm going to create a variable called country. So this variable will hold a list of elements of the different country names. I'll say India. Let's say my second country is Canada, and let's say my third country I have is Brazil. My fourth country I have is Japan, and then we have, let's say, Israel. Okay. Now I'll use a while loop. So I'll say while my list, that is country, then to remove the elements in the list I'm going to use the pop function. So I'll say print country dot, I'll say pop, and I'll pass -1 as the parameter so that it removes the elements from the end of the list. If I run it, you can see here we have Israel, Japan, Brazil, Canada and India. Now you can just print country. You can see here, since we have removed all the elements from my list country, there is no element left here, so it gives us an empty list. Cool. Now let me show you how you can use while loops in just one line. So for that, I'll create a variable called num and I'll assign a value of 10. I'll say while num is greater than 0, I'll say num equal to num minus 1. I'll give a semicolon this time and then I'll say print num. Let's run it. You can see it here. We have printed 9876 up to 0. So in the first iteration my num value was 10. So 10 greater than 0 was true. So we decreased the value of num by 1. So num became 9 and we printed 9. In the second iteration, num which was 9 was greater than 0. Then we decreased or reduced num by 1 again. So it became 8. Then we printed 8 and the loop continued till we reached 0. Cool. Now had this condition been num equal to num plus 1 or num plus equal to 1, the loop would have run for infinite number of times. Alright. Now I'll show you an example how to run an infinite loop. So I'll say while true, I'll create a variable called num. Now this num would be a user input, a user integer input actually. I'll pass in the message as enter an integer, give a colon followed by a space, and then we'll say print the product of, I'll give a comma, say num, I'll give another comma, I'll say is. Now we'll pass in our multiplication. I want to multiply any user given number by 5. So I'll say 5 multiplied by num. Okay, let's run it. And see here, enter an integer. If I say, let's say 3, so 3 multiplied by 5 is 15, the product of 3. Here I can change the message as multiplied by 5. You can say is. Okay, now let's run it. Okay, so let's say I enter my integer as 3. I have the message the product of 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. Let's enter another value 10. The product is 50. Let's say I have 20. The product is 100. Let's say I am taking 35 multiplied by 5 is 175. So this loop will continue until and unless you don't interrupt it. So I'm going to interrupt my kernel to stop executing this loop. Okay, now we are going to explore the enumerate function in Python. But before that, let me tell you what enumerate function is. So the enumerate method or the function in Python allows us to number list indices of the items as they are coming out of the array. Python will automatically put this indices into a tuple. Let me show you how it works. So I'll directly start with my for loop. I'll say for I in, I'll use the enumerate keyword, and within brackets I'll pass in my elements in the form of list. I'll say the, let's say, then we have brown. The next word I have is for, let's say, then we have jumped. This is basically a sentence broken down into different words, and those words we have put as elements in the list. The next word I have is the, give a comma, I'll say lazy. Then we have dog. give a comma, and finally we'll have our full stop or the period. Okay, then I'll give a colon and I'll say print I. Now let me run it. You can see here using the enumerate function we have given the indices to the different items in my list. So it starts from 0 and goes till 8. So there are total 9 elements in my list. Okay. Now you can see here the result has been printed in the form of a tuple or tuple. I'll just copy the above code and paste it here. Now I'm going to replace I with key and value, and print also I'll say key comma value. Let me show you the result. You can see here this time it is no more a tuple, and here we have the indices and then we have the items. So basically these indices have now become the keys and the items are the values. Okay. Now you can print the different elements in the form of a sentence. Let me show you how to do it. I'll just paste it here, and instead of key I'll say value, and I'll use the end parameter in the print statement. I'll say end equal to, I'll give a space. Let's run it. You can see here, okay, this should be brown fox and not for. Let's run it again. So we have the sentence, the brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Okay. So similarly you can iterate through the letters in a word or a string and print the letters along with the indices. I'll declare a variable called company, and this will have a value, let's say simply learn. I'll say for I comma j in, I'll use the enumerate function. Within brackets I'll say company, give a colon, then I'll say print I comma j. Let's see the result. There you go. So here we have indices assigned to the different letters in my word simply learn. Okay. Now moving ahead. So by default the index position starts at 0 as I told you. Now you can also mention the starting index position using the start parameter. So what I'll do is I'll copy my above code, I'll paste it here. Now we are going to make some changes. I'll say for I in enumerate company, and then I'm going to give my start parameter. Let's say I want to start the index position at 10. Now if I print it, okay, let's say print I. There you go. Here you can see my first letter starts at index 10, then we have 11, M at 12, P at 13, and finally we have the last letter, which is N in simply learn, is at the 20th index. Cool. Okay. So now let's explore the zip function in Python and how you can use it to loop it through two arrays at once. So the zip function returns a zip object, which is an iterator of tuples where the first item in each past iterator is paired together, and then the second item in each past iterator is paired together, and so on and so forth. So if the past iterators have different lengths, the iterator with the least items decides the length of the new iterator. Let me show you the first example that will help you understand how the zip function works. So I have a list called first, and I have a names of few football players. We have Lionel, then we have Cristiano, give a comma, and let's say we have Mohammed. I'll declare another list called last, which will have values like Messi, then we have Ronaldo, basically the surnames of Lionel, Cristiano and Mohammed. Then we have Salah. I'll write my for loop. I'll say for I in my zip function or the method. I'll pass in first comma last, which are my list names. I'll say print I. Let me run it. You can see here, using the zip function, we have iterated through both the lists. So we have Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo and then Mohamed Salah. Alright. Now you can combine the elements of 3 lists as well. So I'll just paste the code here and we'll create another list called num, and this is going to be a list of numbers, let's say 7 and 8. Okay, now here I'll say for I in zip first, last and num print I. If I run it, you see the result here. It has zipped only the first 3 items in the list first, last and num. So we have 3 items printed. Okay. Now coming to the final section of this demo on looping techniques in Python, we'll explore about zip underscore longest. So Python's iterator tool or iter tool is a module that provides various functions that work on iterators to produce complex iterators. So iterators in Python is an object that can iterate through sequence data types such as list, tuple, string and so on. So the zip underscore longest iterator falls under terminating iterators. It prints the values of the iterables alternatively in sequence. If one of the iterables is printed fully, the remaining values are filled with the values assigned in the fill value parameter. So to use this function called zip underscore longest, we need to import zip longest from the iter tools module. So I'll say from iter tools import zip underscore longest. Okay, then I'll create my first list. I'll say, let me go to the top and copy the elements because we are going to use these same elements again. I'll paste it here. Okay, and let's say I'll give a comma and we are going to, and I'm again going to use the 3 elements. Okay, now I'll create another list called last and we are going to copy the items from the top, paste it here, and now I'll say for, let me just scroll down, I in zip underscore longest, within brackets I'll say first comma last. We're going to print I. Let me run it and show you the result. This should be zip underscore longest. Okay, you can see the result here. For the first 3 items, it has printed Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo and Mohamed Salah, which you can see here. But for the last 3 items in the first list, it has given us none, none and none because there were no values. Now to overcome this problem, you can use a parameter called fill value. Let me just copy this and I'll paste it here. And the only change that I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, I'll give a comma, I'll use the parameter called fill value equal to, I'll say NA. If I run it, you can see here for the last 3, now we have whatever we have defined within fill value parameter. You can change this to, let's say, not defined. There you go. Alright, So these were some of the interesting examples that we implemented using looping techniques in Python. And that brings us to the end of this video tutorial on Python loops. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comment section. Thanks again.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.